study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Hello there. Welcome to Raising Me. I'm Adrienne Stein. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we are talking about cell phones and kids, and not really just the should we get one kind of question, but the real life version and question that a lot of us are thinking about and living. Maybe you already got the phone, and then you start trying to figure out the rules. It's real. It happens. Sometimes those phones, they happen really fast, and it could be for a number of reasons. Maybe it's a safety reason, or a scheduling reason, or everyone else has one reason, which we certainly heard at our house quite a bit. And then you're sitting there thinking, okay, so now what? What are the boundaries? What should we be checking? How do we protect sleep and mental health? And how do you add the guardrails after the fact when it feels a little like putting that toothpaste back into the tube? Rebecca Hoffmann is back with us. She is the Senior Director of Clinical Innovation and Training with MaineHealth. She is a longtime mental health and family therapist and such a great resource because she is living this herself with her own boys. Rebecca's going to share some practical and realistic advice on readiness, on routines and boundaries, and how to reset phone habits, something that she and I can both relate to needing a reset with our teen boys, giving a phone first and then just trying to figure it out. We have both wondered, did we do it the right way? So before we get started, just a real quick thank you to our sponsor of Sweetser Behavioral Health. And this episode has so many great takeaways. Check it out. Okay, so Rebecca, this is a topic I am so excited to talk with you about because I think we're both very deep in this, so
Absolutely.
It's very personal to us
Yes.
and personal to so many families going through this right now. I think particularly now because maybe Christmas or holidays was sort of a catalyst to get a phone or around that time, and now you're going, what did I do? Or can you put the toothpaste back in the tube, right?
I love that
Analogy
metaphor
for
that
it,
you,
yeah.
yes, that you say.
So where are you with cell phones and your kids?
Okay, so this is how I wanted to start this conversation, just for people to hear as a disclaimer. I am in it as you are, and I have. If I could have done it differently, I would have. Like where I am now with my kids, who are 12 and 14. I did the version of provide trust and then pull back if needed, and I would never do it that way.
We did the same thing. That's such a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
We have an 18-year-old who has had a cell phone now since she was, I think we got her one at 12, 13, somewhere around then. And then my 13-year-old son, we got him one for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
He was 13 and a half, the last kid in all the world to have one, of course. And it was the same kind of thing. You know, we kind of set downtime on Apple and awake time and kind of put some guardrails around that. But then sort of trusted. And now we're looking like, did we do the right thing? And, you know, I mean, I know your boys are great kids. My 13-year-old is a great guy. Right. You know, he's a great kid. But they're pushing the limits, I have found.
Right. And just remember, like, they aren't little adults. Their brains work differently.
Totally.
So their decision making, they're not trying to be naughty or, you know, they're just using their sort of underdeveloped preteen brains to make decisions.
Well, and they're exploring. Like, they're not exploring and just like, let's get on a bike and go around the neighborhood and see what kind of trouble we can get into. You literally have all kinds of trouble to get into in your hand, in the palm of your hand.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the struggles that parents find themselves in with giving their kids the cell phones?
I think that to name a few, I think there are struggles around what are the appropriate guardrails to set, the sort of non-negotiables about, time of day, where the phone is at night, and we, can go into all of these in detail, and why, just having parents really understand why those non-negotiables are so important. I think one of the other hard ones is that these developers of these apps, I mean, they spend billions of dollars making these apps in a way that obviously they want them to be watched. And so they don't necessarily have your child's best interest in mind, right? They're trying to be successful.
Get you to keep going back in
Exactly.
and wanting to use them.
Exactly.
You mentioned guardrails, which
Yeah.
I think are really important, but why are they particularly important for the 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever, is right for your family, for your
Sure.
kids to get a cell phone?
They're particularly important because it's an incredibly vulnerable age to be exploring this device that they don't really understand, and they don't have any fear of, it seems so safe. It's a phone, right? But apps connect them to all over the world potentially. And again, those phones are smarter than any of us, and the apps, the algorithms, all those things are so, their purpose is to pull you in, and they are not always safe. You cannot trust that they are going to keep your child safe necessarily.
So say you're thinking about getting your child a phone. What are there any sort of markers that, yes, my child is ready? And what are the conversations that we should be having before we hand over that device?
I think that there's a lot of research about really even just ages in general, and when a child is too young. And I think it's also knowing your own child and whether they are going to be sort of sucked into the sort of algorithms in those apps, which is really hard to know about your child. But if your child is one that as a kid they were really hard to get off, like
video games or something like that. Yep.
You might want to wait. Or if they are struggling with emotion, like with relationships at school, I wouldn't want my child on any sort of social media apps if they're being bullied or they're having difficult relationships. They are at higher risk for cyberbullying as well. And so I would just want to maybe wait. There are also many different groups trying to sort of come together around this. There's one called Wait Until 8.
Eighth. Yeah.
Wait Until 8.
Yeah.
And it's sort of this community collective saying, let's agree as parents so that you don't have your child being like, I'm the only one, to wait until, that age to give your child a phone. So at least there's this cohort of kids and parents that are saying, we are going to wait until the end of this middle school period, which is this very vulnerable time.
Yeah, it's a hard time anyway. And then when you put that communication, I also think too, like, remember back in the day, if you had somebody who was bullying you or mean to you, that ended at 3:00 in the afternoon, right?
Right.
You had this safe space
Right.
at home.
Right.
Now with cell phones, that can last well into the evening. So I just think of like the mental health issues around that are so great.
They are huge. And not only that is sort of the access to bullying greater, but the barrier of the, people bullying through the phone allows them to be even meaner. One thing I'll mention first, and I just want to make sure to say this because I don't want to forget, is that there are reasons beyond what we're talking about why a phone might be an important item for a child to have.
Yes.
One of which might be safety,
Yes.
right? If there are safety concerns and your child feels like you feel your child needs to have access to you or to, make a call, then that's potentially a reason to do it earlier. Oftentimes when families are separated or divorced, it allows them access to that other parent more often, and that can be really important to that relationship. And children with different cognitive abilities, a phone allows them to communicate in different ways. And so there can be real positives, but I also think that the guardrails, the non-negotiables are important no matter what.
So what are some of those, and again, of course, it's different for every family and every child, but what are some basic guardrails that in general should be applied for most kids or teens?
I think the biggest guardrail I would say is nighttime and paying attention to the phone around bedtime, whether it's in the room or accessible. And that actually has to do with the brain. It's impacting the brain in ways that are going to potentially impact sleep and mental health. And so a guardrail for me would be no access to the phone after a certain point in the night,
should phones even be in a different room? Like if you're just starting out, is that a good place to start as it goes into the living room or the kitchen or whatever it is beyond the screen shuts off at, 7, 8, whatever time is right?
I think that's a great idea. And I know some parents are saying, wait, but that's my child's alarm, or they listen to music at night. And so there can be I can hear some parents thinking of those questions. And there are also so Alexa, for example, or some of these, what are those called?
Just devices.
So some of the devices that they can use in their room that are alarm and also can put music on.
Right.
And they don't have a screen. So I think that there are ways around some of those challenges of the phone is the alarm clock. There's also old-fashioned alarm clocks. So.
Interesting, the old analog way. So around bedtime, that is really a key guardrail for families, whether they have already handed over the phone and they're just looking for ways to sort of peel back a little bit to set that, or they're about to get a phone, whether it's making sure it's not in the bedroom at night or, do you shut off the screen time? I know Apple, and I'm sure Google has the same thing, where at 8:00 it basically becomes a brick.
Right. Right.
What else as far as guardrails go?
And what I would like just to mention about that is that the brain is based on circadian rhythm. And so really, which is that light tells it to wake up, blue light in particular, and darkness tells it to go to sleep. The brain, and it emits a chemical called melatonin that says, okay, let's get sleepy and tired to go to bed. The blue light that the phone is based on tells the brain it's time to wake up. And so if they are looking at their phone at bedtime, they're confusing their brain, they're waking it up, and it's potentially going to impact sleep, which impacts school, mental health, all those things. Mood.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not even to get into what they're looking at or the
of course,
apps.
And getting them all hyped up.
Right.
So how much in advance of bedtime? So say if you have a teenager that goes to bed at, 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Is it an hour? Is it 2 hours before? What is that sort of buffer zone that you're not looking at blue light that allows you that good sleep?
I would say, again, very family specific, but a good hour before. And remembering also that that doesn't mean that you can't be, watching television as a family downstairs or something.
Right.
That kind of screen being so much further away and for various other reasons is not the same as a phone.
Well, I think of the phone and the scrolling, right? It's like it's the quick things. Whereas if you're watching a 30-minute show that sort of is a downtime kind of thing that feels different as far as what your brain is doing. Plus just in that people can reach you on the phone, or you get a text that might be a little upsetting, or you feel like you need to respond. So it does, I mean, just, not just kids, but like adults, don't you feel like that? Or if you get a text late at night that has something to do with work and now all of a sudden you're stressed out, it could be the same thing with the kids about somebody said something to somebody, and at school, suddenly you've got some anxiety about going to school the next, whatever it might
Such
be.
a good point, Adrienne. It can set off any.
Yeah, it just makes you stressed out.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So what is your take too on phones at dinner table or around homework time? Those other bedtime, obviously, bad idea. If you can move it to another room, fantastic. But there are other key times where a phone may be around.
Yes.
What's your take on that and sort of the guardrails around those other time periods?
So I would say as a family, it's important to discuss this, or as parents, and make these decisions ahead of time. What are the non-negotiable times? And what the phone can do, as you mentioned, is distract, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so again, for our family at the dinner table, that's a non-negotiable. But the important thing is it's a non-negotiable for me too, as a parent.
Yeah,
it's
of course.
I don't.
You're setting an example.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it would never be okay for me to look at my phone, and then for my children, not to be able to. That just doesn't feel. It's a sacred time in our family. So, one of the other ones that is often suggested is like not until homework is done, right? Once homework is done, then phone access.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good one to have. It's a hard one. Kids want to wind down when they get out of school, but it also is hard to get them to do homework at 8:00 at night.
How do you have these conversations though, without just the constant battle or feeling like you are negotiating with your teenager?
Right. Which is never fun.
Things? No. And often does not have a positive result. But, what are the ways to approach this so it doesn't feel like it's a battle, or that you are like in that negotiation with your child?
I think that you're setting it as a non-negotiable, that it's not a conversation, that we're doing these things because they are healthy and good for our health and our well-being, and that we are all going to do them, right? So as a parent, it's hard because oftentimes your phone is tied to work and you may need to be accessible in the evening. And as much as you can mirror that for them, and you can model that for them, that's the easiest way to get their buy-in.
I mean, they're healthy habits for us too, right?
Exactly.
So I do want to talk about screen time and parental controls. But as we get into that, what is your take on checking your child's phone? Like looking at their messages on social or their text messages, checking to see sort of what they're up to. Like what should or could that look like? Is it something you should let your child know you're doing? Or just do random spot checks as you see fit because you are the parent and ultimately it is out of concern for your child.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs, so you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's a delicate balance.
It is a very delicate balance. I think that trust is always important.
Yes.
The way that I recommend handling that is to let them know up front that you do have full access, that their password can't be one that you don't know. They have to provide that for you, and that you will check periodically. And so that sometimes, again, because of their age, their brain doesn't always make good decisions for them. And so those guardrails that they know mom or dad might be reviewing the phone can set a healthy guardrail for them.
How do you approach that if you do find something that boy, that is not what I wanted to see or read or hear or
Yes.
whatever it is on your child's phone.
Yes. And what I can say is you and I have both been in those. That's a very common position
Yes.
to be in. And some of that is generational, right?
Yep.
Like we didn't have these types of devices as children. So kids have a little more leeway
Access. I mean, just
to
have
say
more access.
things.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just want to say with true compassion for any parent that is a very common position to
Yes.
be in. And I think the best thing to do is with curiosity, have a conversation with your child. And because you want them, they're going to potentially be in a place at some point in their teen years where they're going to feel like they got in too deep with something in their phone, whether it's
be a text chain,
right, something,
pictures, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want them, when they feel nervous about how to back out of that or how to deal with it, you want them to feel like they can come to you. So I'm not saying that you don't sort of have consequences. Like consequences are really important with a phone, very important. But the conversation can come from a place of curiosity, and even the consequence can come from a place of, okay, I think it's important to have a cool down time, maybe a week without the phone, or, depending on what it is, because it feels like it's getting to be a little hard to manage the boundaries. So let's take a phone break, and just doing it from a place of, again, well-being, care, compassion. And then there are also places where your child has stepped over a limit knowingly. And that's a place to say, again, like, we set these up for a reason, and it's your safety. I mean, we are talking safety for a child.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
In many situations, it's they don't understand, and we as adults don't even understand this sort of background of how these apps work, who can get into them.
It's a big social experiment.
It is.
One thing that we have told our 13-year-old many times, and our oldest too, but she's, now had the phone for years, is if you don't want it read out loud in the school cafeteria in front of all your peers, do not text it. Do not send it. But basically the idea is just think before you send. Now, does it work all the time? It doesn't. But just that idea that what you're sending does not disappear on somebody's phone. Your text messages are out there. Forever.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And easily screenshotted by somebody. And yes, again, as you said, this is a big social experiment.
Yeah.
That this is the first sort of generation that's had this kind of access to these tools that will be around. Some of these things they've done will come back to them. And so I think that is a beautiful way to say it. If you don't want this read out loud in the cafeteria at lunchtime, don't write it.
Don't send it. Right?
Don't send it.
I mean, oh my gosh, the embarrassment, I'm sure. What is your take on going ahead and putting those, again, I go to Apple. We happen to have Apples, but I'm sure Google has the exact same thing. Is like setting, okay, 8:00, it's just your phone turns off. Like the parents are just setting those screen time and the restrictions and all of that. What's your take? Because you want to say, I trust you. But I'm also putting these restrictions in place.
Yes. So one thing I would say is that those guardrails set up by Apple or Google, and even
they're not foolproof.
They are not foolproof.
Say that. Lesson learned.
Especially if your child knows your password or your passcode to your phone. They are definitely not foolproof. And also there are some wonderful apps out there that monitor your child, everything coming out of your child's phone. They're also not foolproof. So you can't fully rely on them to do really like your job for you as a parent, which is to check periodically, monitor, have conversations about the phone, about how your child feels about some of, some of the things they're on the phone. And so I think both and is a good idea. Set those screen time guardrails or those content guardrails, but also check them yourself as well.
What's your take on social media? As in, it's 13 and over or whatever. Obviously, kids get it much younger, is what I have found. But how do you know if your child is ready for it? And say you've already gone that route and you're like, okay, there are red flags around this. How do we peel it back?
Yes. So the peeling back is much harder than the giving access when they're ready. I will say that from personal experience. So it's very hard to give access and then say, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea. And again, to be compassionate to parents, I think we don't necessarily understand the amount of money that these app developers put into the algorithms in order to lure
they're addictive
us. And exactly, scrolling is tied to dopamine in the brain. It's a reward system. Scrolling actually makes you feel good in your brain, and so it's not just your child making a bad choice. And we all know it from when we get sort of stuck on our phone looking at,
and suddenly 30 minutes has passed. You're like, what just happened?
Right. It's actually your brain, like being, that dopamine is a powerful chemical, and they know how to make your brain release it with these things. And that's where quality over quantity is important with your child and the apps you choose. So in terms of knowing when your child is ready for it, I think that if I had a magic wand to do over, I would say middle school, most children are not ready for any social media app.
Totally.
And that is one that I wouldn't have said until I got into it myself as a parent with middle schoolers, that I didn't quite realize. For example, I'm not on Snapchat, so I didn't realize the level of what they can do on Snapchat.
Oh, yeah.
And so as a parent, it's important to educate yourself, but we also are from a different generation. So it's hard to stay up on all these different apps that they want. And so there are great resources on the web to really understanding apps and their risk. There's rating systems for how risky they are for kids. And so there are places to find out information. But I think my recommendation would be high school is when you could start considering it and having conversations with your child about whether they feel ready for it, knowing what the risks are.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that happened, because that's really hard when your kid is going through that scenario, for sure. And one thing too with Snapchat, you mentioned Snapchat, and there are all kinds of them out there. One thing that I really struggled with when my daughter first got Snapchat, and I think she was maybe 14-ish. Again, last person on the planet to have it, whatever. But and maybe it was even 15, but those heat maps where you can actually see where your friends are. Back when we were in school, it was like, I think somebody might be having a party, or maybe everybody's hanging over at that house, but I really don't know, or whatever it is. Now you see in real time that, like, all those little icons, everybody's over at Susie's house, whatever it might be. And like, that is so hurtful when you're not at the house. And
you're not invited.
You are seeing it. It's not just hearing or thinking, but you are seeing it in real time. So what are some of those red flags that we as parents should look out for in DMs or apps or, group chats or group texts that can can turn toxic pretty quickly?
Right. I guess what I would say about that is it's really hard to stay on top of that as a parent unless you are looking at your child's phone for hours at night. The conversations are moving so fast, and as we know, they disappear in some apps. And there are even apps that are hidden. They look like the calculator.
I've heard this. I have not explored that, but I have heard that.
Yes. So if you see 2 calculator apps on your child's phone, one is a hidden message. I mean, so
I do know about the Finsta, but that's kind of old where, you have the fake Instagram or TikTok or whatever account. That's one's for parents, one's for like your buddies. Yeah.
And I believe from what I hear, kids often have many different accounts.
How do you keep track of that? Honestly,
that's where you've got to set those guardrails, those, between the conversations, educating your child, building the ability for them to trust to converse with you about it, but also setting the limits in the phone, monitoring. I mean, it's kind of a wraparound approach. It's not one thing. It's all of these things. And again, I would say start with the least amount possible and
build
up rather than trying to back out.
Yeah. So what about let's talk about the mental health. What might be some red flags in our kids that, okay, this isn't going well, and how do we approach that?
So what I would say about that is that's what you're looking for, are mental health signs. And what you're looking for is for a child to really a change in behavior where they're becoming more reclusive, let's say, where they're pulling away from interacting, where they're wanting to be alone, where they're seeming sadder. They're kind of more obsessed with what's going on the phone and who's at who, like you said, who's at whose house, and they're so you're looking for those signs of a change in behavior, and you're looking for them to, often you'll see they want more of their phone, right? Which is when it's a sign to you that they need less of their phone.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked about guardrails and mental health sort of red flags, but how do we before we get to the red flags and beyond the controls and this is where the phone goes, how can we talk to our kids just about the boundaries themselves, like being conscious of, wait a minute, I've been on this phone scrolling for the last 30 minutes, or I need to put my phone away, or I've been notified 20 times in the last 10 minutes, all the ping, 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 like that doesn't feel good. So is there a way, and kids have grown up with this, right? I think we have the context of knowing what life is without or before a phone. So how can we, sort of instill that in our kids that life does not revolve around the phone? It's okay. When I feel a little anxiety, I'm just going to put it away. I don't need my parent to tell me, hey, why are you on your phone? Hey, put your phone away. Hey, all these things. Like sort of instilling self-awareness in our children.
Just reminding ourselves that they don't have that. They don't naturally have that at that age.
Yeah.
And what we want is, as you're saying, is to help teach them and help build it in them. And so sometimes those non-negotiables are the first step. And they don't know, they don't understand why, they don't like it, they don't understand why they can't have their phone in the room. But you can explain that these are the reasons why, that it impacts their mental health. This is what the research says, in age-appropriate language, and even reflecting on how it feels yourself. I mean, as an adult, if I'm, scrolling on Facebook or something, you see all these things that they look real, but they're Facebook real, but they make you
Facebook
feel.
It's a highlight reel of somebody's life often. Yeah.
Right. And it's not necessarily true, but it makes you feel sometimes
you're missing out, or you're not doing as well.
Or wow, they look so young. And all these things.
Clearly they're working out.
Right. Yeah. That these messages that we tell ourselves even as parents, and sharing those with our children and saying, I'm there too. The more we can connect with our kids and show them that we're not immune to this. This isn't about them as a kid. This is about well-being, and that we are not. This impacts us too, and this is what we do. So when I see those things and I start to feel sad about myself or negative, I know that I need to put the phone down and step away from it. And so that's what I want you to do. And I'm going to help you do that until that's your natural reaction, because it won't be your natural reaction at first.
Teaching. You got to teach. So what's the key takeaway, particularly for those of us who started with the trust and then said, oh, we'll just, peel back as needed. What is that takeaway for parents today, especially if they're living in that little bit of chaos and saying we need a reset?
Yes. So the reminder, you are the parent, and as much as your kid hates it, you do have the right and the power to say, we need a break. And I think having tech breaks in your child's life are not only healthy, but necessary. And so, for example, what I do is use summer camp, right? So it's a 2-week tech break where they aren't allowed to have their phone. And that actually reverses some of the, sadly, the damage that the phone has done to the brain's reward system for them to have no access to a phone for that period of time. And so setting, week-long tech breaks that are just naturally going to be part of their life is a good way to sort of get them back into, and they will feel better. You can reflect on that with them. Is how did it feel not to have your phone, at camp or for the week? And they'll say, actually, it was kind of nice. And so that's a teaching moment. And so what I would say for a takeaway is reminding yourself, no matter how much noise they make, you are the parent and you are doing this for their well-being. Even if they don't like it, you can reverse, put the
toothpaste back in the tube.
My favorite saying of yours, you can put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's not pretty. It's not going to be pretty. Looks a little messy, but you can do it. And just keep reminding yourself it's for their well-being and their health. It's for their best interests. I'm taking care of them.
Yeah. And my takeaway too is just that we have to model it. Right?
We have to model it.
Yeah.
We have to model it.
And empathy, I think, more than anything right now is really important for us, but also teaching that to our kids so that they don't end up with a bad scenario on their phone.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Good. Rebecca, thank you so much. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Always. Yes. And I should mention as well, we'll have additional resources on wgme.com/raisingme. Well, as always, a big thank you to Rebecca. And I got to tell you, this conversation just felt so real because so many of us, we didn't set up the perfect phone plan first, right? We're trying to figure this out too. We gave the phone and then started trying to figure out the rules. If that is you, I do hope this episode just kind of let you know you're not alone. And it's also not too late. You can still put guardrails in place, reset routines, and start having some better check-ins in a way that really protects sleep, mood, and overall mental health, which is the key. And of course, hopefully without turning your house into a constant power struggle over the phone as well. Thank you so much for listening to Raising Me. I'm Adrienne Stein, and a big thank you to our sponsor of Sweetser Behavioral Health. This episode was edited by Megan Littlefield with production assistance from Carissa Paulson. Please follow Raising Me wherever you get your podcasts and consider a positive rating and review, which helps others find this message. Wherever you are, I hope you learn something new and get to take a little time for you.
Struggling with weight loss? Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet is a clinically developed nutrition program designed to promote fat loss while protecting lean body mass. Developed at USC's Longevity Institute, it assists the body in entering a fasting-like state that helps reset metabolism and target visceral fat. In just 5 days, Prolon offers a science-backed approach to weight loss without extreme restriction or guesswork. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/now.